Hey everyone, welcome to the lectures for retirement benefits. I'm starting this for the third time because every time I've started, my wife has jumped in to distract me, to play with me. So maybe we'll be able to get through this recording together. Uh, what I want to say to you is that this is a new topic, it's on its own. Also, you can see the quality is a little bit bad. My light in this room is not so good, but we'll make it work. So what I'm going to be speaking to you about in the next few videos is retirement benefits. Basically, what happens when you retire. Now, the things that we need to keep in mind here is that you've dealt with small elements of this before, but you've never actually dealt with the nitty-gritty behind it. And what these lectures are going to cover is actually, well, we're not just going to look at the deduction you get when you contribute to some kind of a fund. We're going to look at what actually happens when you retire and you get those payouts. So the section is going to incorporate some stuff that you've done before, but it's also going to have a whole load of new stuff as well. So it's called retirement benefits. The big sections, we're looking at section 1, basically your gross income definition to determine what goes in, what doesn't. And then we're also looking at the second schedule. The schedules are the things that come after the main body of the Income Tax Act, and each of them deals with a specific thing. The second one deals with lump sums from retirement investments. It's basically what happens with the money you get when you retire. Okay. Now, some important stuff that we have to know. This is just some admin where we find ourselves. Just remember, these are the main elements that they're going to be dealing with. We'll deal with each of them as we go through. This is where I need to park and spend a little bit of time explaining stuff to you. So in the next few videos, we're going to be talking about probably a few concepts you might not have heard of, and we're going to need to take quite a bit of time to actually stop and talk about what each of these things are. So I'm going to make myself large again so you can see me. Here are the basics. So when you work, let's say you're expected to work from, I don't know, the age of 25 to 65, so you've got 40 years of working. During this time, there's the expectation that in some form you'll be putting money away for when you retire. Because when you retire and you hit 65, whatever it might be, the expectation is you're going to stop working, so you're going to need some kind of money to get you through that period. Now, this funding could be done on your own, i.e. you take the money, you put it under your pillow, your bank account, whatever it might be, and you keep it till you're old. It might be in the form of buying assets, let's say like a house or houses, flats, whatever you want, so that you can earn income later on. You may just keep it in a bank account and earn interest, whatever it might be. But SARS, our employers, all those people know we're probably not going to do that. If we have money, we'll spend it now. So what exists are a whole load of retirement investing options that you can either choose to be part of or your employer chooses on your behalf that you need to be part of. And the process is that a certain percentage of everything you earn is deducted from your salary now, or you invest it and give it to the company themselves, yourself. And that money is saved, it's invested, and then when you turn a certain age, that starts paying out. So it's basically forced investment. Now, this is good from government's perspective because we don't want people when they're old living off state pension because then the government has to pay for it. So they want you to save on your own. Also, the more money you have when you're older, the less drain you're going to be on government services because you're much more likely to use things in the private sector. So government wants to encourage people to save. Now, how they do this is that they need to somehow make it attractive for you to save in these formats rather than just saving on your own. And this attraction has its positives and its negatives. Now, here are the negatives first. Let's be pessimistic today. When you put this money into a pension fund, a provident fund, or a retirement annuity fund every month, whenever you earn money, whatever it might be, that amount of cash goes there, it's invested. But the key thing is you are not allowed to touch that money until you reach retirement age. You can't be like, ooh, it's been a tough month, I'm going to take some money out of there and use it. That money is stuck. Okay. There are very rare circumstances that we'll talk about later that you can get it out, but for the most part, that money is stuck. So you can't use it. So you're losing the benefit of being able to use that money. If you had just invested it normally, you could sell it whenever you want and take that cash. So there's got to be some reason that you would ever invest money into a retirement annuity, pension fund, or provident fund, and that reason is tax. Government wants to incentivize people to do this. Government wants you to have money put away that you can't touch until you're older. And the way that it does this is that it allows any contributions that you make to any of these funds to be deductible for tax purposes. And you've seen this before. This is Section 11 Cap F. I hope you remember from tax previously that you've done. Remember, you can add up your contributions to these funds. If your employer contributed on your behalf and it's counted as a fringe benefit, you count that as your own contributions. You sum them all up, you apply the limits, and you see what's deductible under Section 11F. I'm going into this lecture assuming that that is pre-knowledge. Now, that's the benefit. You get this tax deduction up front, but you can't then touch the money until you retire. I hope that's making some sense. Just also remember these contributions, if you're employed, sometimes your employer will pay a portion as a fringe benefit, or it might pay whole, they might pay half, whatever it might be, and sometimes you just have to make the contribution on your own and it's forced. These percentages range anywhere from sort of 5 to 25%. Some companies let you choose, others don't. It really depends company to company. Okay, now we need to talk about the specifics of these funds. When you're looking at retirement savings, there are three major types of funds to consider: a pension fund, a provident fund, or a retirement annuity fund. Okay, what we have here, these are the abbreviations we're going to use as we go through the rest of these slides. A pension fund, PF, a provident fund, PF2, because really annoyingly they have the same letters, and a retirement annuity fund, RAF. Okay. In essence, the three of them serve the same purpose. They are around to be vehicles for you to invest, but they have some differences. Okay. The differences are as follows. A pension fund is something that is run by your employer. A provident fund is also run by your employer. However, a retirement annuity fund is not. Okay. So a pension fund, an example would be like the UWC Staff Pension Fund or the UWC Staff Provident Fund. You generally have to be a staff member to be able to join that fund. So for example, like I'm a contract lecturer, I can't join the UWC Staff Pension Fund until I become permanent. So they're funds, but they have membership restrictions. A retirement annuity fund does not have any type of restriction. So any person can go and take it out on their own. So as a lecturer, I've always been on contract. I've never been able to join a pension fund. Okay. What that then means is that I've taken out a retirement annuity fund on my own. Okay. What we then need to look at is to say, well, also there are some differences in how these funds are managed and the kind of payouts that you can get from these funds when you retire. And to look at this, I'm going to go through the next few slides and I'll come back to the rest of it. The first thing is a pension fund. It's linked to employment, as I said before, and here's the specifics. When you retire from a pension fund, what happens is all the money that's been saved up over however long you've been part of it and all the growth on that money gives you a value of what's in the fund. When you retire, you can take 1/3 of it all in cash when you retire to buy a house, a motorbike, a holiday, whatever you want. But the other 2/3 has to come as an annuity. What that means is it needs to be paid out over a period of time when you retire. So you can't take it and spend it all at once. You have to get it over time, usually monthly, okay, until you pass away. That's how a pension fund works. You can see there it's a little bit safer because you can't take it all in cash and you have to take some in an annuity. A provident fund, on the other hand, lets you take it all as cash when you retire. So it doesn't have the 1/3, 2/3 rule. It lets you take it all in cash when you retire. Similar to this, a retirement annuity. Remember, this one's different. It's not linked to your employment, but it does have the 1/3, 2/3 rule. 1/3 taken in cash when you retire, and the other 2/3 have to be taken as annuities. So straight away you must be thinking, well, clearly the Provident Fund sounds better because I can take it all and then I have a choice what to do with it. Whereas the other two, I can't take it all, I have to take it over time. And that's true. A Provident Fund would give you more flexibility because you're entitled to be able to take the whole payout in cash. And that's how it kind of existed for a very long time until about 2018. And how it used to exist, okay, just remember, used to, this is not how it is now. You never used to be able to get tax deductions for Provident Funds. You used to be able to get for the other two. It's now been changed that you can get for all three. So we're in the process of bringing all three of them together. That's something that the government is working on. So in future, you're not going to have Provident Funds that let you take it all in cash. But this is how it's existed up until a year or two ago. All right. The other things that we need to look at, retirement fund lump sum benefit, okay, RLB, that is the amount that you get when you retire from any kind of these funds, all right, that you receive as a lump sum when you retire from that fund. The second thing here, retirement fund lump sum withdrawal benefit, that is a lump sum that you receive from these funds when you withdraw from the funds for reasons other than retirement. So there are certain circumstances when you're able to leave these funds for reasons other than retirement or old age or something like that. That's going to be known as a withdrawal benefit. I use some simplification here. You can't ever use this in an exam or test, but just remember, this is the good reason for retiring. This is the bad reason for retiring. Okay. A severance benefit is something that you get from your employer when you stop working for them. There's the possibility it may be taxed in a certain way, which we'll look at. And then the last three terms that we're going to look at and fit into this first portion of the video is something known as a pension preservation fund or a provident preservation fund. And you'll see the terms here. What they are used for is in circumstances where you receive a payout from a fund. It might be the 1/3, it might be the full amount, it might be that you've left the fund for some other reason. And you actually don't want the cash now. Or a better way to say this is you don't want to be taxed on that cash now. What you can do is you can put it into something known as a preservation fund. It functions in the same way as a provident fund or a pension fund, and it allows you to defer that taxation. Okay. What it basically does is it just says, hey, you're getting this payout. You don't want to be taxed on it because maybe you don't want to use that money now. You can put it into a preservation fund, keep it there until you retire. It's going to have very similar rules to a pension or a provident fund. And then you're not going to be taxed on it now. You'll only be taxed on it later. The question that I left you with here is why is it not needed for a retirement annuity fund? Well, you can put stuff into or take stuff out, well, not take stuff out. You can put stuff into a retirement annuity fund regardless of where you're employed, regardless of what's going on. And most of the time when you're going to need a preservation fund is when you were part of a pension fund or provident fund that was linked to employment, and now you're no longer employed by that company. So you can't be part of these funds anymore. You have to take the money out. You don't want to be taxed on it, so you put it into a preservation fund. Okay, the last questions I want you to think about before we end this first portion. Think about the tax consequences when you get this money. When you retire and you receive a lump sum, how is that going to be taxed? Should it be part of gross income? And secondly, when you receive these monthly or weekly or whatever you want to make them annuities from your pension fund or from your RAF, are they going to be taxed and are they going to go into gross income? So have a think about that and we'll address it in part 2.